What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Critical Overlord here. We're going to be talking about a few different horror topics in this video here today. We'll be talking about Saw, M3GAN, Texas Chainsaw, and Halloween. Now, we're going to be getting most of these updates from this nice interview that Jason Blum had with Variety. Gave us some horror updates as it pertains to Blumhouse and their future and their involvement with these IPs. Now, let's start off here with Saw 11. So, he went on to say, it's really hard to make 10 movies in a franchise. I don't take that away from the original series producers, and I'm grateful to them for allowing us to continue. My creative outlook is what I always preach. Get the people who made the magic in the first place more involved. James Wan, the original director, will be hugely involved. That's how we're going to reinvent it. Obviously, the mention of James Wan being hugely involved is going to be quite exciting for all fans of Saw. But see, it's the use of this word reinvent that should keep us prepared for a movie that ignores multiple sequels and somehow has Jigsaw alive, or a movie that introduces a whole new copycat while using Jigsaw in a small capacity to acknowledge this copycat's inspiration and pay respect to Tobin Bell's iconic role. A sequel to Saw X is what fans want. It's what I wouldn't mind seeing. But we have to also realize that as fans, we are not enough to keep the franchise going forever. If some people check out and their empty seat is filled with millions of newcomers, Blumhouse isn't going to give a damn that they lost us. It's all a business to them at the end of the day, and the wider general public has to be reached if your plan is to milk Saw for however many more years, and you aren't going to get there with Tobin Bell only. You just aren't. Audiences are also not interested in doing a bunch of homework to watch something that may end up being a big pile of trash. So leaning into a Halloween style sequel is probably best, because then they're going to find out, oh, I only have to watch one movie. Okay, I'll watch that one movie. Then I'll go take my wife and kids or whoever to go see the new Saw film. I'm talking about the general moviegoer who doesn't keep up with all this stuff like us. But hopefully everything works out for them. James Wan's involvement should lead us into some of the best entries we've gotten in recent memory, and it'd be even better if he, of course, is the one directing them at the helm. Maybe he gets Lee Winnell back to write, but so far we don't know anything about all of that stuff, but that's what many of us want. Now let's talk about M3GAN. We got an update on M3GAN's future too. This is what he had to say about M3GAN. He said, M3GAN will write again. I'll find a way. Now, how are we going to do that? Are we going to do a limited TV series that ignores this awful sequel? Well, I won't say awful, but this sequel was a disappointment to me, but also better than I expected it to be. Fans love to hype it up like it was bigger than what it is, and it wasn't. It didn't make the impact that many people claim it did. But the problem is the decision to release it against all this competition while shifting away from horror and being too confident that the general public cared about M3GAN beyond her little phase in 2022. It was like a TikTok stint, if you want to be honest. Maybe she appears in Soulmate, but I haven't heard anything about that taking place. M3GAN should have just stayed a horror girly, and it shouldn't have been released in the summer. It should have been released sometime in the fall, but then they also had the Black Phone too, so they weren't going to compete against themselves. Maybe they could have dropped it sometime in September. I don't recall September having really that much of a big movie that month. I could be drawing a blank on that, but September felt like it was pretty bare bones. Now this month is Black Phone 2, so obviously they're not going to compete with themselves, but dropping it in the summer and that genre shift, big mistake. They were just way too confident in M3GAN's appeal. They thought that she was literally Chucky. No. She should have built up her resume a bit more, stayed in her lane as a horror girly, and then you start toying with genres. Then you start doing your Bride of Chucky's, your Seed of Chucky, stuff like that. Not that you ever need to do a movie like Seed of Chucky, but you get my point. You did it right out of the gate. You did horror, then you jumped right into Terminator 2 action, sci-fi, and all of that stuff, with the horror being in the background. It's like, really? Of course that's a turnoff, and you're putting it in between all these other much better looking films, or at least more known IPs that are also being released in the summer. So bad call on their part. I don't know what he means by she will ride again, but in my mind, that sounds like a limited series approach. Now, he also gave us this update on where things stand with the Texas Chainsaw bidding war. He said, we were in the mix. The deal isn't closed, but we probably won't get it, which already probably has a lot of people excited. He said, I like taking IP that people are cynical about and turning expectations on their head. Now, A24, we know, is supposed to be the ones closing the deal on Leatherface, but would you guys have been disappointed with a Blumhouse-produced Texas project? Get the right people involved, trust them to create something special for you, and we could have had a hit. It's just knowing JT Mulner has his hand in this cookie jar with A24 makes me and many of you listening definitely want to see A24 get these rights. Mulner didn't direct The Long Walk, but I believe he wrote the screenplay. His recent work there and with Strange Darling, it's just like, yeah, let this man cook with all things Leatherface. I'm going to say the same thing I've kept saying. This man seems like the right fit for Leatherface. I believe a report about a TV show was mentioned in the past, but Blumhouse has used enough IPs. Maybe they can help Universal fix Chucky or something. I don't know. That man is in need of some saving. But Leatherface, let someone else hold on to that. I know a lot of people are jumping for joy over this apparent L from Blumhouse because they've seen what they've done with Michael Myers and The Exorcist, and they have a Blair Witch Project pending, I believe. So it's like, let some other people get food in their mouth. You've had enough. It's time for you to go. The buffet's closed for you. Last few comments are about the future of Halloween. He said, we don't own the rights anymore. I had a 3-picture deal, and this last part, I'm certain he's said a comment like this in the past. He said, but I would do another Halloween movie. Now, I don't particularly have a desire to see them handle Michael again because of Halloween Kills and Ends. Not the worst movies ever. Ends was better than Kills. But if you were to tell me that Blumhouse is the only company that will do a Halloween 4 legacy sequel, ignoring 5 and 6, with a returning Danielle Harris as Jamie Lloyd all these years later, I'd be down. I'd be open for it. A film that brings Rachel back and fixes that relationship, giving it the attention it deserved in Halloween 5, give it a bond like Sam and Tara in Scream, and only Blumhouse will do it, I'm not going to be against that. Just keep David Gordon Green away and bring in someone like Brian Bertino, but on a general level, I'm good on a new Blumhouse Halloween movie. I'm good on that. I'd rather see someone else do it, but if you were to tell me in some alternate universe, they are the only ones who can give me a legitimate legacy sequel to Halloween 4 with Danielle Harris back as Jamie Lloyd, I'd be open to it. I'd be open to it. Of course, I also could argue that ship has sailed. Two things can be true. Not necessarily something that is needed and necessary all these years later, but I know there's people out there who would eat it up. They want to see Jamie Lloyd get the Laurie Strode treatment. As I often argue on this channel, sometimes though, I wish we would get to a point where we just accept that, okay, well, you messed up with this character and you need to just let that sit where it is. You don't get to come back and keep doing all these redos. Plus, we know Danielle Harris would love to come back and do this. She's talked about it constantly on her podcast, talked about it at public appearances, talked about how she's pitched it to the rights holders, so she'd be down for it. And I know a lot of you listening would eat it up. You are dying to see Jamie Lloyd's story get finished the way Laurie Strode's story has been appropriately finished. What do you guys think about all of this? Down in the comment section below. Let me know what are your favorite updates from this video. If you haven't already, of course, make sure you subscribe, turn on post notifications whenever there's a video. In the description, I have links to all of my social media accounts. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can message me there, of course. Let me know if there are any movies, news, or reviews you'd like me to cover in the future. And with all that in mind, guys, I will see you in the next video.